If you actually drive through Squamish, most of it's still treed. Most of it still is a parkway-like experience as you go from downtown to the business park, for example, and from the business park to the Garibaldi Highlands. So it's changed dramatically. It's doubled in population in those 25 years. It was about 11,000 people when I first got here. We're probably about 21,000 now. It was predominantly a logging community. A lot of that went by the wayside, sort of early 2000s, and ever since then we've been sort of reinventing ourselves. So you see a much younger demographic, quite an educated demographic here in Squamish, quite a high average income, household income in Squamish, quite affluent. So I've seen that dramatic change, and obviously the economy's transition from predominantly forest industry related economy to really quite a diversified economy. We've got lots of entrepreneurs, tourism, green energy companies, that kind of thing. Definitely people who bought their homes 30, 40 years ago have sold their homes and moved elsewhere where maybe housing is less expensive, either the island or the interior. And I think that's natural in a place where you find there's lots of immigration. There's still lots of people here who have lived here their whole life. I'm sure they want to rest in peace here as well, so we still have lots of great old timers around as well.
And we were looking in a number of different places initially, but Squamish just presented a perfect opportunity. There were some amazing buildings that were going up at the time that were perfectly suitable to put a brewery into. Squamish was just starting to change. The real estate boom in Vancouver was changing the demographic in Squamish, making it a much more suitable place to open a brewery like this with a tap room attached. And so it kind of was just everything kind of came together to make Squamish the perfect choice. It was surprising to us that a much larger percentage of the beer was actually consumed on site than we anticipated. This whole kind of exponential growth and awareness of Squamish has had a really big impact on our tap room and how busy and successful it's been. But now as we grow the tap room, the amount of beer we can sell in the tap room is fairly finite. So now our expansion is happening into the Lower Mainland and elsewhere. We'd like to grow in Squamish. We're kind of limited to a certain number of seats in the tap room right now, and we're in talks with the Muni to hopefully increase that number and just sell more beer out the front door, both in the form of pints across the bar, growler fills, and can sales on site.
It's a much more progressive town. I think it's a cool town to raise kids. You know, it was a working town, and you have this influence from the city coming in and a younger demographic coming in, and they've totally flipped the town on its head. You know, the rental market is a little crazy. I have been in my place for 3.5 years, and we have a really great landlord. My roommate and I split, but I have friends who share a house between 5 people, or my girlfriend shares a house with 4 people and they rent out one room to Airbnb, and that helps with rent. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's just kind of what it's always been for young people. We just expect it, but I don't even think about owning. I've had thoughts about having Squamish-based retail and then having a manufacturing space somewhere cheaper. Move somewhere a bit up north or inland and just ship back to the retail and for wholesale. But I do always imagine myself based in Squamish.
One of our challenges is we've had such a growth spurt that we actually have a lack of commercial space for businesses to grow into or to move into. So that's a challenge, and we've certainly brought in some strategies on ensuring that we get more second story office type in the downtown, and trying to really preserve. We've done an employment strategy, so employment land strategy, so we're ensuring that we have those employment lands that we can grow into. We've seen exponential growth in our business park as well, and as well we've also have seen quite a few new companies coming into the North Yards area, which is our more industrial zone. We've had quite a bit of growth there, and businesses doing fantastically well in that area as well. Certainly a huge catalyst was the highway improvement project that came along with the Olympics, that really sort of made Squamish a tangential community to the Lower Mainland. We really are part of the Lower Mainland now in so many ways.